This time on Engine Masters, we're going to show you how to save your engine and make more power with a simple swap of an oil pan. What we're gonna do here is test two completely different oil pans. One of them cheaper, the other ridiculously expensive. But the thing is, you're gonna learn some basics about oil pan design that apply to any engine. And now in truth, they're gonna make a bigger difference the more RPM that your engine turns. And that's why we selected this thing for our dyno mule. This has become like one of our favorite engines on the show. Let me tell you all about it. So it is a Dart Big M block, aftermarket block for big bores, 400 or 500 bores, but it's got a little tiny stroke in it, 3.76. And that's one thing about this is that everything we're gonna show you in this episode about oil control gets worse with longer strokes. So this is kind of a best case scenario with that little stroke that would come out of like a 396 Chevy or a 427. Obviously, they're all big block Chevy based. So that's our bottom end, which also includes some 12.25 to 1 compression custom JE pistons. Up top, we've got Dart Pro 1 CNC aluminum heads. The intake runner is 365 cc's. They're pretty radical. And we also have a Dart single plane intake manifold, and up top, the Holley Dominator that we love so much in 1050 CFM. The camshaft is the key to this thing wanting to RPM. It's a crane solid roller. The duration at 50 thousandths tappet lift is 284, 296. It's on a 112 lobe separation angle. And you know what? This thing really wants to run 8,000 RPM, but Steve Roulet won't let me do that because it's got steel valves in it and a standard rocker train, and honestly, he just doesn't want to see the thing fly apart. So all the testing we're gonna do here is limited to 7,500 RPM, but let me tell you, that is enough to make a huge difference in oil pans. Now let's have a look at what we're gonna start with. Here's the oil pan we're gonna test first. This is a Milodon setup, and this is 430 bucks at Summit Racing. It is a full competition oil pan. It is for like a tube chassis drag car or a dragster or a boat because it is flat on the bottom and has no sump whatsoever. Now, we've seen in the dyno in the past that this is actually better than one that's designed for a passenger car because the passenger car units probably have a kick up right here, putting the bottom of the pan even closer to the crankshaft, which can lead to windage problems and things like that. Speaking of windage, this thing has got a louvered tray in it to control the oil and collect it as it's spinning off the crankshaft. It's also got some trap doors in it to control the oil for acceleration and deceleration, and this is clearanced for up to a 4.500 stroke on a big block Chevy. Now, we've run this thing before, and Brulé has tested it on our specific engine, and he's found that 5.5 quarts is the right number on the dyno for this thing to have optimum performance and not lose oil pressure. Now, that number could change when you actually get it in a car. You'll hear us discussing oil levels once we get to testing the thing, but 5.5 is our number in a static condition on the dyno. Now we're going to install this thing. Okay, we're back with our big block Chevy that we used for that connecting rod test.
One of my favorite engines now.
The big block Chevy. This particular one is one of your favorites?
Well, actually kind of both of them are. What I love about both of them is they're 7,400 RPM single 4-barrel big blocks.
Yep.
How can you not like that?
Oh, it's great. And it's perfect for what we're about to do, the oil test. Because, well, actually, I suppose it could be better if it was a longer stroke. But it's still a lot of RPM.
We've seen lots of oil issues with wet sumps throughout all of these things in the past, and there's just never enough you can do with an oil system short of a dry sump. You know, so all the good oil pans and some of that stuff, and you know, we've done level tests and all that, but
yeah, we did a whole episode just about how oil kills power with levels, and you've got this one sorted. This flat pan, which is like a dragster or boat pan, it only wanted 5.5 quarts.
Yeah, and more caused oil pressure to drop. You know, the question is it running out? I'd add some, I took some out. You know, took the, kind of a last stab at it and found a level where it carries really pretty well right to 7,200 RPM.
So you just let the engine tell you how much oil it needed in there.
And you know, we're kind of in a more unique situation because the engine's static. Guys are going to run into a lot of other issues when it's in a drag car coming up, slowing down. You know, oil management's a big deal. You know, and guys, I really don't think focus enough on it, because it's not just a power thing, it's a longevity thing as well. When the oil pressure is dropping, getting whipped up, it's got air in it, all kinds of bad things go on in there. So I just, you can't do enough on an oil system.
Well, what we're gonna do here is try and make it flawless on a wet sump with an awesome pan, but first we need to find out what this one does. So let's hit the baseline and look at power, because we can, and oil pressure.
Well, the other thing is this is as good as this pan gets. It doesn't get
any better than this. Yeah. So our first test here is going to be with our good old trusty big block Chevy with a regular old Milodon flat pan, like a dragster pan or a boat pan. It's got 5.5 quarts of oil in it. We've got it tuned up and warmed up, ready to go. I'm pretty proud of that big block.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty nice.
Maybe that pan's not so bad after all.
Well, we have to look at the oil pressure curve. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not that bad. I mean, I can see you using that in a lot of stuff. Like you say, it's already a better case than a sumped pan for a passenger car. All right, what do we do for power on this turd?
This thing really is pretty good.
I
For
like
a little
it.
tiny one, it's 478 inches.
So our final numbers here are 625.3 pound-feet of torque at 5,700 RPM, and up at 7,400 RPM, it's making 818.4. Actually, just a hair better than it did in our rod ratio test, probably because it's a little cooler now. Weather might be a little bit different.
It's within 3 or 4.
It's within 3 or 4.
Yeah,
It's virtually the same
repeatability,
thing.
yeah.
So let's have a look at our oil pressure
I was
curve.
just going to say, let's look at the oil pressure.
Not bad.
It's within 5.
So the range right here is roughly 87, and down here is roughly 82. So it's really not that bad. So the question is, normally what we see in this scenario is that oil pressure takes a nosedive.
Yeah, it'll come over
And so we don't have that bad of a problem here. Will the bigger pan in itself make more power, even if it doesn't have a windage problem now?
Well, can we smooth this out a little bit where it's a rising curve? I mean, we're hopefully going to see something. The thing that concerns me about where we are here is we've actually got it managed pretty well. I wouldn't want to run 5.5 quarts in a race car application.
No, I wouldn't either. So I guess now we move on to that other pan and see what happens.
Okay, Steve-O, let me know
So
when that
pan?
thing's wrapped up.
Oh
and we'll
man,
see
I'll
you in a
handle
few.
it. I got this, bro.
Steve and I'll have a beer while we're waiting. Let's go to that flat pan that we were testing. I like it, I don't love it. The thing about it is we know that it can be pretty hideous by the fact that we only were able to run 5.5 quarts in it to get ourselves out of a windage problem. But the thing is, I really wanted to eliminate windage as much as possible from this test. If you saw episode 32 of Engine Masters, it discusses windage entirely. What is windage? It's the amount of oil that is basically whipped up around the crankshaft that is resisting crankshaft rotation and eating power, plus whipping air into the oil and causing oil pressure problems. Well, that's not what we're testing here. We pretty much have the windage controlled in that flat pan right now, although we do know that it would get way worse with a longer stroke. Why would that be? Well, because a longer stroke puts the crankshaft deeper into the pan, and it's also moving at a greater rate per RPM, so it just gives more oil in the way of the crankshaft. By using this 3.76 stroke engine, that is really less of a problem. So we're really only looking at oil pressure and capacity, overall volume inside the oil pan. And that's what we're gonna see when we move to this Moroso pan. It's a part number 20376. And let me just break this news to you. This thing at Summit Racing is $1,133.99. So it is not cheap. You gotta be hardcore to get into this. But what you get out of it is a completely fabricated aluminum pan. And it's gonna have some advantages, we hope. We'll find out. So the deal with these pans that are super trick is usually that they've got really wide kickouts on the side right here, whereas that other pan is gonna end right here along the bolt holes. As a matter of fact, it's a little narrower than that. that. This one has significantly more volume. Now, why would volume actually help you? People think of it as being more oil in the pan. In fact, it's doing two things. One is reducing pressure in there because higher volume of airspace is going to have less pressure than a smaller volume. The second thing that it's doing is giving a place for the oil to escape. As the crankshaft is rotating, it's gonna kick oil into the side of the pan. Now, if it's really close to the pan, the oil doesn't have a place to go, it bounces back into the crank, you get windage. If it's got this kick out, you have a greater possibility that the oil is gonna get captured over here and return to the bottom. Here's another feature of this pan. It's got these little flaps right here, which are handy because when you're accelerating, it allows the oil to go backwards. But when you're decelerating, they close and prevent the oil from flowing away from the pickup so you don't lose oil pressure, when you're stopping. This also has a full screen type windage tray in it, similar to the pan that we just took off. What it does not have is a crank scraper, which would be even more trick for oil control. What that does is that it is like a knife edge that is exactly the shape of all of the counterweights and rods on the crank, so that as the crank is going by, it's actually scraping oil off of it and returning it to the pan. So that's next step trick. But instead, we're gonna go with this thing right now, bolted on, and man, after everything I just said, I really hope it makes more power with a flatter oil pressure curve. Speaking of installing this thing, check this out. The bottom half of this Moroso pan is completely removable. So all you're doing is installing this on the engine. Now here's the reason why this is trick. These are the pan bolt holes right here. Normally on these big kick out pans, there's like a tube that you have to get through in order to like fish the bolt up in there. But now that you're able to remove the bottom half of it, we can hold this up against the oil pan flange and just drop our bolts in. It's gonna be super cinchy. So I'm gonna go hand this to Dulcich and hope that he installs it while I relax. We're doing the dance here that's very difficult of trying to get an oil pan installed upside down on an engine. The other thing I forgot to mention about these race pans is they often have fewer bolts than a stock pan. They put the bolts directly opposite the main caps in order to allow clearance for big stroker cranks at other points. Obviously, right at the main cap, there's no clearance problem with the crank spinning. All right, we got all the fasteners in. Now we're just gluing it, and we'll be able to tighten it up and then put the bottom half on. Two-piece pan becomes one-piece pan. New oil pan's on there. I really hope that junk works because I talked it up a lot.
How can it not? It's this big. I have a lot of confidence that pans like this with big kickouts and good screens and all of that are certainly better for power as well as oil control.
Well, it cooled down to our starting number, so you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, this is it.
We're gonna run it and find out. That was super hardcore.
Yeah, it was.
Wait till you see these numbers. Man, how does an oil pan make that big of a difference? I take back everything I said about windage. It's got to be a windage problem.
No, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of bears out some things that we've seen before when we had this oil pan on, and we switched to a dry sump, knowing we were going to find more, and it did almost nothing because this pan was that good.
I guess.
Wow,
this is
awesome.
awesome.
Let's look at our numbers.
Well, we got power too. We've got still got to look at pressure, but
Oh yeah, forget oil pressure. I don't care
who
about
needs
that.
oil pressure when you got this much
That's
power?
right. So check this out. We just made 841 horsepower at 7,400 RPM and 636.7 pound-feet of torque at 5,800. And of course, what we got to do is compare it to the old pan right now. And wow!
And it does diverge. It's just it's better there and even better.
It
up
is
there.
better everywhere. That's stunning. How much more power did it make? We went from 818 to 841.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Where do you find 23 horsepower for $600? Let's say first oil pan versus second oil pan. That's a huge gain.
Yeah, that's amazing. How about the torque? What was the gain there? It went from
23 to 36, so
623 to 36. And everywhere in the curve. That actually makes the car go faster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a significant difference.
Let's have a look at the oil pressure curve though. Oh, what happened there?
Okay.
I bet it's low.
What's the range there?
Or is it high?
Well, we're gonna put oil in first.
Yeah, we're gonna put oil in.
Air to the side of caution.
What we just noticed is the oil pressure after 7,200 RPM takes a nosedive. So that's either all the oil getting sucked out of the pan, or it is too much
Aerating.
oil in there, aerating and causing windage problems. So now we have to go tune that up.
We're on the right track there.
Look at, this is with the old pan and this is with the new pan. This is what you want to see. This you never want to see, but everything up to that point is mint.
I'm gonna go put a quart in. We had started with 6.
Okay.
On Moroso's side, it says 6 to 7.5. So we
Okay.
started on the bottom side, and I figured we'd add.
You can put half in?
If it's doing this,
If
we
it's
can
doing-
fix it with a half, but we'd like to have a little reserve, so I'm gonna say 1.
One, okay, put 1 in it.
And if it does this again, then we'll go back the other way.
Right. All right, we're gonna throw another quart of oil in this thing and see if we can solve that pressure problem. Nosedive.
Yeah, earlier. I did
So
it
we
even
gotta
earlier.
drain it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we put the 1 quart in the pan and we noticed just without even looking at the graph that it dropped oil pressure actually earlier. So we're thinking that is a windage problem and he's gonna go take out 1.5 so that we'll have 5.5 in the pan just like we did in the other one.
Looks close. I'll go measure this and check it again.
It's about the same.
I saw 47.
I thought the 47 just flashed right at the end.
It might have been the one when it tugged back. The
Yeah,
number
when it tugged back. I need to look.
It did do just that little dive again, but it was, I think, a couple hundred later.
It made 845 horsepower, so just a tick more. And yeah, it pushed the drop off way higher at the RPM. But
So now do I take
another half?
would you really run the thing with 5 quarts in the pan?
I think I would look at the data when it's in the car. I mean, I'd be watching oil pressure.
Yeah.
The one thing I know is that when the engine's this flat, if it goes in the car at maybe 3 or 4 degrees angle,
Right.
that helps keep the oil around the pickup. So it might even be better in the car with a little bit less oil. It's hard to say.
Well, you want to take half out?
Yes, I do.
All right. Solved it.
Yeah.
Here are our final power numbers for this thing. 845.6 at 7,400 RPM and 637.7 pound-feet of torque at 5,800 RPM. Pretty stout. You want to compare it to the other pan?
Boy, this will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love looking at that. That's too much fun.
Boom.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference.
Pretty great. How about our new oil pressure curve? Did we solve the fall-off problem? There you go.
It's a lot different,
Yeah.
a lot better.
We still saw a little fall off from 7,300 to 7,500, but wow, the difference in the oil pressure curve, and that is all engine longevity.
Yeah, it's, you know, keeping the air out of the oil and all the things that we've done with oil pans and always fiddling with that level. That seems to be something we do with every test these days now that we know better.
Yeah.
So.
I'd say that's all
I'm glad
win.
that worked. Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of oil pan. It was a bit of work, but God, I mean, where else do you buy that kind of power for that kind of money? At that power level to start with.
Vacuum pump. Can we try it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to try and put a vacuum pump on this. You've probably never seen this. Check it out. What Steve's installing here is a vacuum pump. Remember when I was showing you this trick pan, I was talking about how the larger volume reduces pressure in the crankcase? Well, this is gonna actively create vacuum in the crankcase, which can help with oil control, but mostly it's about ring seal, piston ring seal. And we've seen sometimes it doesn't make that big of a deal, other times it can be fairly huge, which is my caveat to excuse us when it doesn't actually work. But well, I think what we're gonna try and do is make about 860 horsepower with this thing.
We got the vacuum pump installed, got our fingers crossed, and we're hoping for some good results.
Picked up a little, not what I was
Yeah.
hoping for.
Incremental gain, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, it surprises me a lot about this engine, how it just wants, with a single four barrel, how it just wants to keep going and going.
Yeah, I know. Let's have a look. Our new peaks with the vacuum pump are 849.9 at 7,400, which is the same RPM we were looking at in earlier tests. And our peak torque at 5,700 is 639.3 pound-feet. So want to overlay this versus no vacuum pump? Yeah, look at the graph overlaying vacuum pump and no vacuum pump. You can see on this particular engine, it barely made a difference, but I would run it because no leaks.
You never have to worry about a drip.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, which is actually pretty good.
I'm really impressed with this engine.
Thank you.
478 cubic inches and, you know, making
Yeah.
850 plus, that's pretty impressive.
Well, and we have to credit Andy Mitchell for assembling that engine for us, too.
Yeah, he did a great job on both, so.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Beer
All right.
time?
Oh, yeah.
Lots.
Ready for that? We're out. This one's easy.
Really?
Oil pan, wow.
Oh, I know, that was when, seeing is believing. And I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't saw it.
And vacuum pump, nah.
Well, still, it helps some.
I think Brule said it best, which is that the vacuum pump doesn't always work, but sometimes it's spectacular, and it really depends on the ring package in the vehicle and whether it's really having a ring flutter problem and a bunch of things like that. So it's not a
Right.
sure thing, but wow. On the oil pan, I just learned that I'm never gonna bother with a race engine again that does not have a kick-out pan, because the oil pressure alone is worth it, much less the 27 horsepower.
I know.
27.
Wow, that's like
Yeah.
an intake manifold change.
And everywhere in the curve.
And it's just taking away parasitic losses, really.
Yeah,
I mean, the
exactly.
windage is just doing you no good at all. So
Yeah.
that's big.
There you go. All win in this episode. Mind-blowing. $1,100 oil pan, kind of worth it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I like it.
We will spend more of your money next time on Engine Masters. Up and warmed up, ready to go.
You want to just run this one at 130 or something?
Steve burped in the middle of that, and I
You?
tasted it.
Oh, sorry, Burger.
Oh, I didn't burp. I'm just like,
Obviously, right at the main cap, there's no clearance problem with the crank spinning.
Did you guys get your union card from Caltrans?
Caltrans?
Yeah.
Why?
I've never seen five guys doing one oil pan before.
Union jokes.